Hey there, everybody. So we got video number 7 here, and as you can see, I'm going to be testing a bigger feed box. We're all set up to go. I got the original temperature probe and the top plate. I got to put a gasket on there yet. I've added a probe to the exhaust, and I just wanted to show you the feed box. So it's 12 by 12, and I've got 2 air adjustments, and here you can see the inside. Hopefully you can see that. I'm going to start with just do an initial burn in. I haven't run it at all yet, so just going to do just a run to make sure everything works good. Got a lid so you can seal it in and play with the air and try to just figure out first off where it's going to burn well, and then once that's kind of tested out and I think I'm good to go, I will load it up with wood, fill it right full, and see what happens. I guess that's all I can do. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy, and we'll see how she turns out. Alright, I'm going to load it up and get it going, and I'll just leave this camera running until it gets fired up and I have to close the lid. Okay, so we're at the 5-minute mark. This is what I expected. It's burning well, drafting good, no issues. But of course, it's just building heat in the bottom of the feed box, and in this area, right down in here, as the heat builds, more wood is going to want to burn, and more gassing is going to start happening. And of course, because all this volume is open up top here, we've got this excess oxygen. So it's going to start coming up the feed box, and I'm going to have to close the lid. So what I'm going to do now is just move the camera, throw a small load of wood in, and close the lid and see how it goes for the next 10-15 minutes. So here's my first batch of wood, I guess. Of course, to be true to the design, I just want to dump it in. Okay, so here you can see the wood. It's just kind of thrown in there. I'm gonna leave the lid open until the smoke's coming out, and I'll close the lid. We're at 7 minutes. The exhaust is 69 and the plate is 56. So you can see a little bit of wood there starting to burn outside of the burn chamber area now. But still, it's drafting well enough that all that smoke isn't, nothing's coming out, so. Well, there it is already. You can see a bit of smoke started. So if I leave this lid open, it's a guarantee that this whole thing's just going to catch on fire, and air will be drawn in from the top and coming out, and it'll be a disaster. Okay, we're almost 10. I'm going to close the lid now. It's starting to significantly smoke and burn into the feed box. So our exhaust is at 107 and the plate's 87, so it's just coming up to temp. Alright, we've been running for 20 minutes since I put the sticks in, the big wood. And I didn't load it up, I just put some in. So I've got the air inlet open 100%. That volume or the area is bigger than the actual burn tunnel. So as you can see the discoloring, I'm sure it's burning inside here. I'm just going to check it, so I thought I'd video that part. I wonder if I should get some pair of gloves on actually. Just in case the lid's really hot. Alright. Yep, burning up inside. Of course it flared up as soon as I lifted the lid. So, which is what I expected with the air. So, we're going to let that die down. I'm going to continue the test. I'll shut it off when it gets to 200 degrees, kind of like I was doing before. And then we'll, put a little weight on there. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut the air in. And then do another small burn. Alright, and then once that burn is done, set that data aside, shut the air in another 25%, try again, and see when you can start seeing the changes in the data. Okay guys, we are 35 minutes in. The exhaust temp has just dropped to 200 degrees C, the plate's a little higher, and it's time to load it up with some more wood. So, I'm going to put this in. So I'm going to set it to about 25% closed. Obviously we had lots of burning up inside the chamber, which I don't want. Just take that off. So yeah, mostly burnt up. There's still some pieces of wood. Let's see what happens, I guess. Alright. Fired up fast. I'm closing the lid. Still pretty hot in there. So of course I want to get to the point where there's enough draft that the air is all being sucked in and no air is able to go, fresh air up in here to burn the upper wood, right? Let's see what happens. Alright, so let's test. 36 minutes, exhaust is 214, so it's time to stop the test, start a new one. And given the amount of wood I put in, this was definitely more than my previous test. I got the same burn, which meant the wood rate was definitely burning faster than before, meaning it was still burning inside. And you can see it's blued all the way up to the top now. So try again. This time I'm going to go 50% on the air inlet. There's still a fair bit of wood in there. I guess it doesn't matter. I'm gonna load her up some more. So 50% open about on the air, and we'll see how she goes. Okay guys, so it's just getting dark. We're on test 7. So what I did this time is I filled the box up right to the top with wood. You know, not super tight, but quite a bit of wood. Set the gap at 2 inches. That was kind of where it worked. I had the lower one open, and it wasn't working at all. Like, it doesn't seem to affect it, so I shut it off. As you can see, I'm going to let's do that again. So I'm going to take a close up inside, and you can see it's bridged a little bit with the wood up inside, but it looks amazing that it's pulling. You can see it's drawing in really well, and it's still burning. So yeah, almost an hour. Oh, sorry, 45 minutes, 240 degrees there on this, and 170 there. And the plate, you know, we can see a little bit of smoke. So maybe you could open that a little more, but also maybe a secondary air inlet. As you can see, there's a bit of a gap there, but if you actually had like a 1-inch hole that you could open up and add secondary air, just to make sure that you've got enough oxygen to burn all of the gases that are coming off the wood up inside the stack, but not inside the feed box. Might work really good. But yeah, doesn't it look pretty neat, eh? She's quite the fireball in there. Really liking the way this is working, so I'm gonna put my gloves on and let's take a look inside the feed box and see how it's burning. And see if there's wood at the top, or yep, so you can see there's wood up in there. It's not an issue. It's charcoaling a little bit, but it's man, this should burn for a couple hours still yet. So hopefully you guys get to see that. So here we are at the beginning of day 4's testing, and yesterday I did some testing with this 12x12 box and this monster feed box, and well, it turned out really well. So I did a total of 7 tests. 6 of them were, you know, 4 to 5 pounds of wood, testing the various amounts of air and the bottom air versus the middle air. And the basic result is, yeah, you can shut in the air. The bottom air doesn't seem to make a difference. Having air coming up from the bottom through the grate doesn't seem to help the burn, even when I try to shut it in. I never tried getting it a lot closer. What I did notice though was that when I was running about 1.5 inch gap, I was getting some exhaust smoke, and the plate temperature was still near 300 degrees. So that tells me the temperature inside the burn tunnel and the riser is hot enough. However, I'm getting a lack of oxygen, which of course isn't surprising. So today I'm going to test, first off I'm going to try some larger wood. So you can see there I've got a pile of stuff that's basically just quartered, and I've never tried logs that size in any of the stoves yet. Well, they wouldn't fit, so we'll see what happens. Because I mean, if you could use just quartered wood instead of using the smaller pieces, that's a lot less energy going into splitting the wood. So yeah, that's day 4's testing, and let's get started. Oh, I'll give you a little pick inside. So last night, day 7, the 7th test, I filled it up to here just loosely with wood, and it ran for, well, about 1 hour and 3/4 without attending it. It just ran. So you can see there's a chunk of wood kind of in the corner there, the charcoal that just didn't burn because it's far away. But yeah, it's all burnt down. I have to clean it out before we fire it up. Okay, I just boarded the large wood test because what was happening is the wood was bridging up inside at about this level, so it was all kind of stuck up there, not wanting to burn, not wanting to fall down, and it was just going out. But interesting, I pulled these 2 pieces out, and you know, there's a little bit of smoke and charring on the outside, but it just shows you that they weren't burning in there up at the top in this portion. They were only burning right down at the tips, which is what I wanted. So I think the concept is good. I took some notes. I think that if we had a feed box that was maybe only tapered this way and not this way, if this was straight, there might be a little more of the wood can get down and it might self-feed itself. But right now, the way it's set up, it wasn't going to self-feed. So yeah, anyways, interesting. Okay, I'm done all the other testing. I haven't tried the secondary air yet, but before I did that one, I'm going to do one other test. So what I've done is I filled the entire box packed it right full of wood about 25 minutes ago. But the wind kicked up about a half hour ago, and it's wreaking havoc with the operation of the stove right now. So I'm going to leave this run, but you know, you can even see the smoke is actually coming out of the gap, so you can tell that it's not there's a little bit of puffs coming out of there, so you can see that the wind is causing a bit of back pressure. I mean, it's still burning, it's still working, but I've had to open the air inlet up higher, larger than normal, to keep it running. And the box is not super hot, doesn't boil water, so as you can see, yeah, she's full of wood. Close that up, lid back on. All right, let's let her run and we'll see how long this runs for. Okay, it's just about been 2 hours and most of the wood is burnt. See, there's a little bit of wood left in there, if you can see, and it'll burn for another good 10-15 minutes yet, maintaining the temperature. It's ranged anywhere from 300 or 280 down to 220, 210. But a common problem has been regularly, if you can see that, everything's falling in front of the air hole, the air inlet, so it's getting plugged off. So what I gotta do is figure out a way to make the air inlet open large on the inside, but regulated in a different area, so that the velocity, like the air, always has the ability to get in, but it's controlled through a sliding plate that's in a different location, so that it can't block off the air. So I think I'm going to, well, I'll have to let it burn out and then I'll disassemble it all. The other thing, since I'm going to do this change, what I'm going to do for sure is I'm going to change and make this straight down. So still tapered on the two sides, but this will be straight down. And I'm getting closer and closer with every revision of this, so I'm liking the way it's working, that's for sure. And yeah, so then controlling the air in a way that allows it to always get air. And then the last bit will be this, the amount of wood I put in there, I should have had a burn for probably 3 hours. So the question is, why didn't we get a burn for 3 hours? Well, of course, I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure. Today, though, was affected by the wind, but with the air being blocked off, and even though the temperature of the plate and the temperature of the chamber should be hot enough to burn everything, without oxygen, it's not going to burn. So it's getting restricted oxygen because I'm trying to slow the burn down from the inlet. What ends up happening then, of course, is the wood gas is still gassing off and then getting sucked out, and not being, because there's no oxygen, it's not going to burn. So that's what I think is happening. And it comes out as smoke. And through this whole burn, pretty much, there's been smoke. So as soon as you try to restrict the air inlet, you get reduction in, you get smoke coming out the top because you're getting a reduction of air. Which means we need to add secondary air downstream. So you'll have some air coming in from the front, and then another inlet of air in the burn chamber itself, or even further back, right where the burn tunnel meets the riser. So I'll probably disassemble this whole thing and rebuild, go for another test in another couple weeks. So in the interim, I guess I'll get this video up and running, and hope you guys enjoyed. I'll show you the charts in a sec here. Okay, here's the test charts for the day 3 and day 4 Burns 12-inch feed box, and we'll start with day 3 test 1. So here you can see there's the temperature profile of the plate, and this is the exhaust temperature. The purpose of the testing we're doing here was testing the quantity of air inlet versus the feed box design. Of course, looking for potential issues. You can see, this burn here was really well. It peaked out over 400 degrees C. Definitely hotter than what we wanted it. So I went on to the next test, which was 2.25 inches of air. Here you can see we peaked at 350, and it kind of held for quite a while before it started dropping off. So you can see the effect that the wood box is having, which is allowing the feed to come in and drop. Day 3 test, the same test, but this time with smaller wood. So at the beginning of this test, I had a problem with air being blocked off from the wood in the front of the air inlet. And you can kind of see the slow start to the stove, and it finally got ramped up. And then the wood was burnt out and came down. Day 3 test 4, 1.75 inches of air inlet. This one performed pretty good. 250 is around the temperature that we've noticed previously in the 6-inch box testing, that the smoke from the exhaust disappears, and that's with excess air. So this should be the temperature range that we need to keep the smoke from existing. Let's see, day 3 test 5, medium wood, 1.5 inches of air. Got quite hot, so obviously the air must have been open enough that everything worked well. But of course, air being blocked off on the inlet was a problem through many of the tests. This was the long test, the one at the very end. It's in the middle of the video, but it was the end of day 3, and I just loaded the box full, and you can see it started off well, got some blockage of the air, and then something moved or burned out of the way, and then it rose up, and you can see up and down as wood falls. So it's doing what I expected. Again, the duration though wasn't as long as I'd wanted. The temperatures were there, but the duration wasn't what I expected. And as at the end of this video, you've seen I was talking about smoke in the exhaust and having a lack of oxygen. So the secondary air is almost a necessity when you restrict the air inlet to slow down the burn. You need secondary air to get rid of the burn of smoke. So day 4, test 1 with large wood. Here you can see the struggles I had with the large wood. It started off okay, and then of course after 7 minutes the wood had started burning at the bottom, and then there was just not enough wood. It was bridging way too high and just slowly ramping down. Here I played with it, kind of got it all going again, and it just did the same thing. So then I had to abort this test. Second test was 1.25 inches. Here I had a lot of trouble getting the fire to start, and I ended up actually blowing some air inside, but never burned well. I'm not 100% sure because, of course, with the air inlet being small, wood getting in the way, it's kind of all over the place. The third test was the same with 1.25 inches, and here you can see the temperature never got up. Struggled all along until the end. I think I opened the air inlet up 100% and it spiked up. Test 4 was the long test with the feed box completely filled again. Here you can see we got over 120 minutes, but the up and down is normal. That's part of the wood falling as it burns. But of course, what ends up happening is the wood, we're up at these temperatures and yet it's still smoking out of the stove. So the air inlet's an issue. So here's a group, all of those trends of just the plate temperatures. And overall, well functioning. Again, an issue with long burns and smoke. So I've got to try the secondary air and changing the feed chamber, as well as making sure the air inlet is not blocked off. So I've got to change the way that air inlet is designed to prevent the air from getting blocked off. So got a plan for that.
I'll show you how that's all going to work in the next video. Thanks everybody for watching, and hope you enjoyed. Please subscribe, and if you have any comments, leave them below.